guys, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new, welcome. I'm so happy you found us. I'm Lisa, and this is Lisa's Creativity and Inspiration, where I give you ideas to make your own for your home, for your journals, for whatever you do. So come on in and let's get started with new unique ideas for your journal covers. Okay, first I'm going to start simply by giving this book cover a coat of white paint. It's going to be like a base. If you have primer, definitely use that. I have primer, but I want it to dry faster, so I'm going to use white paint. If you don't have primer, use white paint. And here's a little tip. Black paint and white paint are like the basic paints. You need these paints more than any other color that you have. So I buy my white and my black in large sizes, and it saves me tons of money. Just a little FYI there for you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a base coat of white to cover up most of this so we don't see any of the writing on the cover through the paint. And then next, when that dries, I'm going to put a coat of pink on because this is going to be my base color that I want to see below what we're going to put on top. So let's paint. Okay, we're going to let this dry. We'll come back with our pink and we'll be right back. Okay guys, this is dry. It's been a couple hours, plus I hit it with the heat gun a little bit just to make sure. Now I'm going to do my base coat pink, but if you notice, I did let some blue show through. I like that look. The only place that I did the paint really thick was where all of that title writing was imprinted on the book, and it covered nicely, as you can see. So now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to take my light pink paint and just go over the whole book. Oh, and by the way, don't be surprised if old book covers soak up paint just like old paper, old wood, whatever. They dry out as well. They're porous and they do soak it up. Okay, we're back and this has dried, and this is a very cool cover. You could stop here, add some lace, some ephemera flowers, that sort of thing, and make a very cool shabby chic journal if you wanted to. Of course, your base coat doesn't have to be pink. You could use any color that you like. Remember, this is just to give you ideas. So painting your book covers, that's one way. If you want to stop here, take your Mod Podge, go over it so it seals in and you won't scratch it off with your fingernails or with pencils or whatever. If you throw it in a backpack, other stuff won't rub against it and take it off. So be sure and put a coat or two of Mod Podge on it just to make sure it stops here, and then decorate it with your lace, your flowers, or whatever. And I wanted to point out too that these spots are not me stopping painting. It's where the book cover said, we're not going to take paint here. So the book itself kind of dictated what it looks like. Where it wanted paint, where it didn't, where it super soaked in paint, and where it said no. So anyway, just an idea for you. So I'm going to turn this over now so we get an orientation of front and back. This is the back, this is the front. On the back cover, this part right here, what I want to do is something really cool. We've all seen it before, where you take, you have a black page and you scratch off and there's a picture underneath. So we're going to make our own using colors that are very complementary, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So this is for our back page. First one I'm going to do is I'm going to take my cardstock, because I'm using cardstock for this because there's going to be a lot layered onto the cardstock, and I want to make sure my paper can withstand it. And what we're going to do is I'm just going to measure out my cardstock because I want it to fit inside the book. So the cover is actually going to act like a frame for this. So I just want it to go inside. And I'm just going to my wonky measuring skills style here. And it won't be straight, but you can always put lace, bling, or whatever you want to around it. Or you could leave it as wonky and have that as, you know, part of the charm of the picture. Just be sure and cut the other side. I don't like it though when I cut straight, except on one end. Okay, that's pretty much, okay, there we go. So yes, I know it's wonky on side, it's fine. This is the part we're going to work with right here, so I'm going to put my scraps over here to use in another project. And this is the size paper I'm going to be working with. So I'm going to move the book cover out of the way for the moment. And I am going to color this whole page in with colors that are complementary to my pink cover. So that is some pinks. I'm going to use a dark pink. I'm going to use yellow. I'm going to use some blues and some greens because those, in yellow. I said yellow. Those colors all go really well with my pink. And you want to do complementary. If you do colors that don't go, it's going to look really bad. And okay, so when you do your coloring on your page, you either need to use colors or oil pastels. It has to be oily. So when you scratch off the black, it's not adhered and painted to, it comes off. So oil-based pastels, oil pastels, or crayons are fine. And I'm just going to color, and you have to color it in solid. And you can put whatever you want. I'm going to put like a rainbow of pinks and greens and blues, colors that complement my pink. We're not going to worry about it. All I'm doing is just coloring in this whole piece of paper. Okay, boom. Got our oil colors on our piece of paper, and I just did complementary colors to my pink shabby chic looking book cover. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take black paint, and remember, buy big sizes because these colors we use all the time and everything. And I'm going to mix equal parts black paint with equal parts dishwashing soap. So let's do that. Okay, so that's how much dish soap I got, and I'm going to try to do equal part paint. Okay, you just mix it together like that. And then you just paint your picture. And you want to make sure you get it all coated. Now you can do this right onto the back of your cover if you want to. There's no problem with that. I just did not want to do that because I'm going to use black on the front subtly. Now, if I was doing a really cool, I don't know. Okay, and you just put it on. Make sure it covers everything, because you want to have a layer to scrape off. It smells good. It smells better than regular paint, of course, because you've put your favorite, maybe not your favorite, but you put what you wash your dishes with in there. Okay, and again, you just let this dry. I'm going to speed up the process a bit because I'm going to use my heat gun. Okay guys, as you can see, it's all dry and I cleaned off my desk. Now, when it comes to the scratching part, you can use something thick, something thin. I'm going to actually use a paper clip. If I had a chopstick, I would use that, but I didn't see any in here. So I'm going to use a paper clip, if I can find a regular little paper clip. Okay, I'm going to use a paper clip, and then I will go back and make everything thicker once we get it all scratched out how I want it. And I'm just going to do, oh gosh, I dropped the paper clip. Sorry. Okay, I'm just going to do something very simple, and then I'll go back and I'm going to do, this is my personal journal, so I'm going to do some heart, and you just scratch it out like that. And you can make them on a vine and do some more hearts like that. Oh, that works kind of wonky. It looks more like butt cheeks, but that's okay. Then you can come back and kind of scratch out the centers. And remember, don't scratch too hard because you'll scratch off the colors underneath. If you have something bigger than a paper clip, I would use it because it will be better, but I couldn't find a chopstick. If you have chopstick, that would be the best. Oh, you know what? An unsharpened pencil might work better. Let me see. And there you go. You get the idea. You can scratch it out and make your own art like this. You could do this directly on your book cover if you wanted to. That is just a total preference issue. I didn't want to do that. What I'm going to do, though, is once I get it all drawn out and scratched in, I'm going to attach it to my book cover, and then I will put lace or some type of trim around it, and it will be really cool looking, and it will pop. Okay, so that's one special new way to do. Well, that's actually two because painting was one. Now, the next one is using our friendly bits of fabric again and some decoupage. Our little scrap fabric. And all we're going to do is lay it out however you want it on our book cover. And then you Mod Podge it all down and it stays, and you have a really cool book cover that a lot of people don't have. And I went through and found scraps that kind of went with what I was doing with my color theme. I also have scraps that have some, can you see that? Has some stitching on them just because they were in the scrap bin. And I picked a lot of them out just because I thought they would add interest and some fun. And they look really cool on the spine. And then I'm just throwing some around. You just want to add a bunch of pieces to use up those fabric scraps. And these are the little wimpy scrap pieces that you can't do anything with, and normally they might even go in the trash. You know? I did a video on this, and I will link it. But these are great for projects like this or other projects that I talked about. Now, be careful laying them down because you haven't Mod Podged your paint yet on your book, and it could scratch off in places. They can layer on top of each other. They can be spread far apart. You can make them like stained glass. You can make it however you want. And when you get to the design you like, then you get out the Mod Podge and just go nuts. If you want it solid, definitely do solid. If you want some of your beautiful paint job to show through, do that. Make sure you layer with whatever fabric flaws there are, like pulled fabric like that. I want that to show, so I'm going to make sure not cover it up. It's just to make it fun and however you want it. So I'm going to do my front and back cover. This is the design I'm going with, by the way. So I'm going to get all these pieces on. And I'm doing my front cover heavier than my back, just because that's how I want it. You can do them equal. Whatever, you know, floats your boat. Let's put this down here. blue piece right there. I'm going to put this piece in the center. This piece right there. There. Okay, I'm going to put them down like this. Oops, I missed one piece. There we go. I'm going to put them down like this. I'm going to decoupage it all, and you will see it in just a minute. My decoupage brush is a little stiff, but this is the brush I always use. And you saw me using my fingernail for the scratching. You can do that as well, or like I said, a chopstick, anything that's blunt but sharp enough to scratch something off. Okay, remember when you decoupage, you need to put some on the bottom and the top, and I'm going to do the bottom first, and I'm going to do the spine. These pieces sewn together are a little thicker. But remember too, we want to coat that paint so it can't just easily be scratched off or destroyed by throwing it in a purse or a backpack or something. Can also, if you want, use Gorilla Glue to hold your fabric. A fabric glue, it's totally, up to you how you want to attach it. This does work, and I did want to seal all that paint in. Okay, now I'm going to cut a scrap because I want it to butt up against. I don't want it to lay on the fabric. That's when it gets a little hard to make it all stick together. Okay. Perfect. Okay, there's the spine done, and I'm just going to go through and do the rest. Okay guys, here is our decoupaged fabric scrap journal cover, spine, and back. And I'm super excited the way it turned out. It needs to dry, but it is going to look absolutely gorgeous. If you had scrap lace, you could throw in some scrap lace. If you have, blue jean material would look really cool. Just anything you can Mod Podge down or glue down, whatever you want. But if you're going to just glue it, make sure you do Mod Podge your paint so you don't scratch it. But I left a lot of the paint coming through, a lot of the natural roughness, just that the book dictated. That way it has its personal character, its own character. And I kind of love this book. You can also, if you don't have fabric scraps, you can do this with paper or if you don't have fabric scraps, you can also do this with paper or napkin. This is one I did with napkin, and then I embellished with some other things, with some trim, some ribbon, and an initial card. And on the back, I just put a patch, which holds the ribbon. That was the closure. So this is napkin, though. Same concept. I painted the book pink and then just decoupaged napkin all over it. And it lasts. As you can see, it held up quite well. I used this journal for a long time and it just got full. Also, I wanted to point out that there are strings attached to this. You can, not use this. I want to point out that there are strings attached to this. You can use the strings, trim them off, not use them, pull them off altogether, whatever you want to do. But I think it just makes it look really good. The strings give it character. So today we gave you 3 unique and new ideas for your journal covers. 1, you can paint them. 2, you could do the scratch art where you paint pretty colors on the underneath side. Remember, they have to be crayon or oil pastels. Paint over it with black paint mixed with equal parts of dish detergent and then let it dry and then just scratch off with whatever you have that's sharp but blunt because you don't want to scratch off the color underneath as well. You can do that on a piece of paper and add it as a picture in a frame on the cover, or you could do it on the cover itself. And lastly, our decoupaged fabric book cover, which I am in love with. Great use for those little fabric scraps. I did link that video in the earlier part too, so if you want to go watch my fabric scrap video, you can. But this is another great use for fabric scraps. So anyway, thanks for being here today, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you next time. Bye.